I don't have a whole heck of a lot to bore you with before getting into this one. This is the second to last review to finish for the second wave of Kingdom. If you think I'm going to review the repack of Earthrise RC, you are high. Most people seem to think that I'm going to love this figure. Let's find out if they're right. It's Kingdom Airazor. Okay, right off the bat we're running into some issues, and they are kind of unavoidable thanks to the show pulling some serious shit. Airazor here is brown, and she's supposed to be black. At least in her robot mode. In bird mode, she was supposed to be brown, because I guess the show creators wanted to ruin the toy designer's day. I'm sure there's probably going to be a Netflix version with the black of her show counterpart, and you might say that that's kind of perfect then. You've got the brown version for the eagle mode, and you've got the black version for the robot mode. But I'm sure that's not why they did this. I am 100% positive that this is brown because they wanted to match the real-life animal. Because while Airazor's bird mode was brown, it was a very dark brown. This is not that for sure. Is it not being the correct color and objectively negative quality? No. But I don't think it's doing her color layout any favors by being in this muted dry mud mixture. Check out this picture of someone's customized black Airazor, and look at how much more that pops. That is just so much more striking looking than this figure, and this is another reason I'm not a fan of this realistic alt modes thing. We are losing out on the graphic composition elements of these designs. Stuff that was done to look good before is getting axed in favor of it being true to real-life animals. Airazor in the show also basically had no robot mode wings, and I get that that would be almost impossible for them to make these completely disappear into a robot mode torso, so I'm not holding that against her, but they do make her very back-heavy, especially if you try to collapse them as much as possible to hide them the most from the front. But outside those gripes, we are looking pretty solid. The proportions are fairly accurate, though her waist just kind of suddenly starts. She does have her little DBZ Frieza core shoulder pauldrons. I feel like those would just create unnecessary drag during flight. And while it doesn't have the exact build of the show, I can say it's still pretty clear that we are looking at a woman here. Japan, I know the original toy's bio said it was a dude, but all you had to do was look at the character model and you'd know it was supposed to be a woman. Or, I guess not, considering how much Japan loves them, some otherwise normal dudes who just happen to look indistinguishably like a woman for some reason, despite how muscular they may or may not be. Airazor was a dude in the absolutely atrocious Japanese dub of Beast Wars is what I'm saying. Along with such other terrible classics as, Megatron is a stupid-sounding hick who spits at the end of every sentence. The Predacons computer is an energetic anime girl, and Rat Trap constantly tries to guess what the kids at home are eating. All this atrocious bullshit and more on the shitty Japanese dub of Beast Wars. I'm not kidding about any of that. The Japanese dub of Beast Wars completely bastardizes the show, and it infuriates me to my very core. It's practically an abridged series in Japan, and I recoil at the thought of it. Rant over, my Airazor shins constantly want to snap, but considering it goes forward like that, it does counterbalance the backpack a bit. So at least it's helping with the problem rather than contributing to it, because it very easily could have been both ugly and an issue at the same time. But yes, this robot mode is relatively accurate. But I'm struggling to not see it through that lens. Like, I think this looks good, probably, but I can't say for sure, because for some reason I'm entirely hung up on the accuracy of it and not on how it actually looks. I just can't get show accuracy out of my head this time, so I'm not sure if I'm judging this as fairly and objectively as I'd like to if possible. The head is strange. If you look closely at the show, the face comes across silver, but it has a light purple tint to it. This, on the other hand, is extraordinarily lavender. It's a bit uncanny. Airazor didn't have very pronounced features in the show, but this comes across like her face is melting. Also, the fact that her feathers are now colored brown makes her little chin spike look like a goatee. That said, the sculpt of her helmet is completely on point, and there is no mistaking who this is supposed to be, even if the features on her face are a bit soft. Based on the helmet, how long do you think it is before someone tries to make Airazor into Deathsaurus' daughter, or his wife Esmeralda under a different name? She comes with two of these, and they are cast in the same brown plastic as everything else and then painted gold. I guess these are supposed to be her wrist rockets? These were way smaller in the show. I think what they should have done is instead of casting these as two much larger rockets, they could have made them into like an array of much smaller ones. Like if both of these were just a platform with 3 small rockets on them, the way they are at the moment is kinda useless. These don't interact with siege blast effects, and they don't even work as rockets. The least they could have done is allowed you to peg the blast effects onto the back to make it look like they're being propelled forward. Posing on this figure is a bit weird. Head has significantly more than normal range, but it could have been insane. These small pieces coming off the back of her collar are the only thing stopping her from being able to look straight up at will. I'm honestly very tempted to go in and clip those off so she can more easily assume a flying stance. You can kind of get it to work if you untab the back, tilt the chest section up, and then the bird head down. It's suboptimal, but it works if you are unwilling to damage the figure. Unfortunately, these cutouts are designed to prevent you from using this to get her to look down more. Dead average arms with no butterfly and normal 90 elbows. But she does have weird forward wrist bends instead of rotation. If these bent the other way, I'd call this sword-wielding wrists. But as it goes this way, well then, I made my bed with the Beast Wars Megatron, didn't I? So I guess I call this jerking off action. You can fake a back crunch with her, as well as an ab crunch, but it doesn't necessarily look the best. I think this can do a higher side kick than any other figure I've ever seen, and if you get the foot just right, she can balance like a kung fu master. She can kick straight out, too. If you let her barely be off to the side, you don't have to flip up the crotch armor, which looks terrible, and the difference is so minor, I question why it's possible in the first place. Knees bend way more than a 90, so that's refreshing to see. You can break her shins like a loan shark that hasn't been paid, and then she has pretty freeform ankles. I suppose you're allowed to attach the rockets to the back of her feet? Why? So, the posing on this is very much better than average. While it only has one joint that most figures don't have, the range on everything else is well beyond average, except for her lower arms. The result is that the moment you begin to move this thing at all, it really comes alive. It goes from having a strong resemblance to Airazor to being Airazor. I can't quite peg what happens, but the instant you touch a limb, and it just starts looking awesome. Like, if it seems I've been really down on this figure thus far, know how thoroughly I'm impressed by its poise and grace in posing. Something about it just lets it punch further above its weight class than its articulation should allow, because while it's better than average, it's not amazing or anything on that front, but it comes off incredible in practice. I don't know that I've ever seen that before. I don't think I've ever thought a figure looked okay until I started posing it, and then suddenly it not only looked frosty in general, but so much more like the character. Transformation is not much of anything. Basically, you are putting her into a squat while unfolding the wings on her back, and that's pretty much it. The bird mode looks pretty good from the front. She's got a little kibble, but that's fine. And like 3/4 views are fine too, but once you get around to the back and the illusion falls apart. You just got a robot ass hanging off the bird's tail in a very suspicious manner. But from all other angles, the bird looks pretty good, and it's a lot more accurate to the show model than most of the other Kingdom beast formers, largely due to the fact that Airazor in the show was much more accurate to the real animal she was based on than most of the others. The only other issue with the look is the safety stamps on the inside of her wing are big, ugly, and conspicuous. Poseability is well above average for a beast mode. Head has swivel and bend, and the beak can open and close, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that it's impossible without tools. Seriously, how am I supposed to get the fingernail I don't have in there? I don't care how long your nails are, you can't snake them into place on this. Wings have a bunch of different joints that allows them to go flappy flappy, though I do think it's sorely missing a rotation joint back here that would let you angle her wings back. She's got a lot of leg movement, but not the full range like the Beast Wars Megatron had. She's got most of what she needs for a bird, but she is very liable to topple over. And not just backwards, she's probably more prone to falling forwards. You can kind of offset this by using the wings to prop her up, but that's not a solution I like using. So this is a figure that has its issues. Any individual aspect of it is not too impressive. The look is good, not as accurate as it could have been, and even removing that from the equation, there are ways this could look better. Poseability is good. It's a solid amount above average. It's not doing much that other figures can't do at all, but what it does do, it does better than most. Transformation is bad. It's pretty much the old Beast Former standby of the robot crumpling into a ball with the legs still out to form the beast limbs, and then the kibble does the rest of the job making this look like an animal. And the beast mode is decent and poses well for what it is, but the undercarriage is just a robot playing peekaboo within its own chest. So while no other facet of this figure is blowing me away on its own, the result is a figure that is significantly better than the sum of its parts. Somehow, in a way I can't quite understand, this ends up being a killer figure. I have never seen a figure where I was so unenthused by the look of it, yet when I went to pose it, by the next time I actually paid attention to it, it was like I'd never truly seen it before. Put this in a basic standing pose, and I still don't think this looks great. Put it in anything even slightly more dynamic, and I'm like, hell yeah, that looks fucking sick. I don't know what to say. I recommend this. I'm confused by it, but I do recommend it. And I do so heartily. It's a lot cooler than it looks at first glance, and I mean a lot. I don't think you will be disappointed by this if you spend your money on it. Another positive review where I tell you to buy something? What's wrong with me? And that's not half of what I have to say, but it's enough of what I have to say. And I know you know what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you'll enjoy listening to me waste your time.